Welcome to episode 3 of Saving Grandma. I'm very excited to be here today. We've got a really neat program today, one of my favorite topics, which is Alzheimer's and dementia. I wanted to start out, I've had so many cool experiences dealing with people for 30 years with dementia and Alzheimer's. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I had the opportunity to be on a governor's task force, and we traveled to see many facilities and to see how each individual facility dealt with dementia and Alzheimer's, the different programs, some phenomenal programs and some really crappy programs. Anyway, I wanted to start out with this a picture of Walmart, and this is probably me, so bear with me. Have you ever been to Walmart and you parked and you run in and you're in a big hurry and you come back out and I'll be darned if you can't find your car? It's, of course, you're looking for the white one, and there's 20,000 white ones in the parking lot. So what do? You basically start to walk down the aisles and pretend you know what you're doing, and you don't want to look like an idiot, so you don't want people to know that you don't know where your car is. And if it lasts a long time and you've gone through multiple aisles and you start thinking, well, somebody stole my car, what's going on? But you're still trying to look cool because you don't want people to know that you're forgetful and you forgot where you parked. And it's a really good example of how a person with dementia and Alzheimer's feels when they start to lose their memory. It is a scary, scary thought. And so that's why we're going to be talking about dementia and Alzheimer's today. There's so many just different things out there that people do know, don't know, misunderstandings. Some people are very scared when they see a person with dementia. Well, the person with dementia and Alzheimer's is also very frightened because in the beginning stages, they almost feel like they just get very scared. It's like being in Walmart. So I have to start with my joke for the day, and my joke of the day is the secret to a smoking hot senior citizen. The answer is cremation. All right. Now my trivia question for the day is, what percent, how many people over the age of 65 actually have dementia or Alzheimer's? That's the trivia question. And the answer is 1 in every 10. Now, as they get older, that increases to 1 in every 7. So it's a very common phenomenon as people get older and they're aging to get some form of dementia. There's many forms of dementia. Alzheimer's is actually a form of dementia. It's one of the main forms of dementia. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Now, it's very, very difficult when a person actually has, when they have dementia, they start to get forgetful. My whole goal as I do this program is to talk to individuals who are at home taking care of a loved one who has dementia. Oh, what a challenge that is. Wow. And my challenge as always is children, family, friends, please get in and help this individual. It will take years off the individual who is caring for a person with dementia. It is not an easy task. As we go forward with dementia, there's so many different types of dementia that you can look at how dementia is affected. You look at the brain. In the old days, they actually have treatment now that a doctor can examine and determine if a person does have, if Alzheimer's is what an individual really has. Now in the old days, and it's not that long ago, I can remember, back 15 years ago, the doctors were not able to determine until the person died if they actually had Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's was nearly impossible to diagnose. There was a lot of symptoms, but to actually diagnose just was very, very difficult. And so what we did, we signed as senior care managers. A lot of times the universities that were doing Alzheimer's studies would come to us and say, okay, can we talk to the family? And when this person with dementia, advanced dementia, passes, can we examine to see if, look at their brain to see if it is Alzheimer's, to make it conclusive. And there was a lot of that. We worked with a lot of research centers, and we finally got to a point where we can diagnose Alzheimer's, which is really cool, because in the old days you could not. And there were so many families that were heroes in my mind that really were allowed, when a person passed, to go to a research center. So all this new advanced research that we have today, that people can actually be diagnosed while they're living with Alzheimer's, which is very cool. So I wanted to talk a little bit as dementia and Alzheimer's starts. Like I say, Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, but there's different groups and different symptoms as you start to see a parent or a grandparent, and a lot of it starts, first of all, with little things like poor judgment, changes in thinking skills, changes in language, how they speak. Do they start to prolong their speech, slow their speech? A lot of people that speak English as a second language, they will revert back to their original language. It's fascinating. They decrease their focus and their attention. They do not have a long attention span. These are just little flags. Memory loss, of course. There are little things like it starts out with individuals maybe not remembering where they put the keys. Then they don't remember, they go out for a walk and they can't remember how to get home. Those are very frustrating. They're frustrating to individuals that just have a bad day and sometimes are forgetful. But to an individual that's advancing, they actually realize that they have memory loss, and it's very frustrating for a lot of them. Their thinking and reasoning skills aren't quite as solid or advanced. Loss of spontaneity and difficulty completing tasks. So a lot of times you see people with dementia and Alzheimer's, they like to wander. And it's just kind of one of those things that happen. I wanted to talk about, because I've had several experiences in my career, that there's the do's and there's the don'ts. And I've actually seen families, and I've had to stop them, where they come to a senior care community in the memory care, and they'll sit down with their loved one and start to argue with them. I remember a case where the son and daughter were just arguing with the dad, saying, "Dad, that didn't happen. Dad, this is this and this is going on." And they didn't realize that Dad's short-term memory, he couldn't remember who the current president was. He couldn't remember current events, and they thought it was their duty to correct him. And it's really not at that point. They have what's called validation therapy, and boy, you can take this wonderful journey with validation therapy. When a person has advanced dementia and Alzheimer's, it's usually their short-term memory that's shot. They can't remember what happened yesterday, and they may not remember your face, but in their subconscious, they have all these wonderful memories that are very accurate. And you can actually figure out, because a lot of times people, they divert in time, and basically they're going back in their lives in time. Some person might be living, for example, in, let's just say, 1957. And if you actually realize who's alive, and you talk to your loved one and they start talking about their sister or their brother who has long since passed, but in their mind they're living. So the very important thing that you do then is you realize, oh, he's talking about this time period. You can then actually have this journey where you can find out family history, events that occurred in 1957. Who was the president? What was happening in the family? Who was alive? There is so much wonderful information you can get through validation therapy. It's a wonderful tool to take a wonderful journey and just kind of realize that that's where the individual with dementia and Alzheimer's is at. You never argue. I mean, what are you accomplishing by arguing? You try to divert. You try and reason through things, but their reasoning skills aren't really good. Distract, never shame. I mean, I've seen, and it's very hard, because I've seen cases where, a wife will forget who her husband is, and it's very frustrating. They'll want to shame. Oh, you don't remember who I am, kind of thing. Well, they don't. And no matter what you do, it's not going to change that. You need to reassure and never lecture an individual with dementia and Alzheimer's. Reminisce. Never say remember, but reminisce about other time periods and take that journey of validation to try and figure out where that person is at. You'll see a lot of times that is quite beautiful. You'll see a person who's in their 80s, and they'll be holding a little baby doll. Well, they're living in a point when they were a young mother holding their child, and they're just and you take that journey, and it's quite beautiful. Repeat, but never say "I told you so." That doesn't get you anywhere. I know it's frustrating that this person can't recall or can't remember, but you can't sit there and say, "I told you so, I told you so." No, that doesn't work. You cannot do that. Do what they can do and never say you can't. You just have to recognize their abilities. Always ask, never demand. It's extremely important. A lot of things that I'm talking about right now are things that I actually have written about. I have a book, and it basically is on a Kindle, Amazon Kindle, Who Took My Keys. And a lot of the things that I've talked about, I've gone into great detail in my book. And I would invite all of you to please, if you need more information, please pick up my book, and it will give you a lot more details. So I've certainly been in the business for a long time. I'm an author, consultant, been doing a lot of different things. One of the things that I want to kind of help individuals and just give you a few ideas, and I think eventually I'm actually, as I've said before, I'm going to be traveling to different communities and trying to give each of you some tools of how you can help an individual who has dementia or Alzheimer's. The key to remember, and it's always so important, and that is that most people with dementia and Alzheimer's have a lot of data stored in their subconscious and their muscle memory. And so most of you, the wonderful things that you can do, and there's so many wonderful, they call them therapies. You look at the senses, you look at taste, smell, touch, sight, hearing. So there are wonderful things. Let's jump into hearing, music therapy. If you know your mom's favorite music when she was young, if you play that music, the study and the science has shown that that person's brain will rewire. I've seen it multiple times. It's the most beautiful thing when you start to play that genre of music that individual loved as a young person. Their brain rewires and they'll actually start to remember those songs. They'll sing along. They could be absolutely unable to verbalize, and yet all of a sudden you'll just see their brain rewire. And music therapy is a wonderful tool to help individuals and to calm individuals and to help them. I've always said that the worst thing that you can do for individuals is the worst death of all deaths is boredom. That is a very slow, long death. And people with Alzheimer's, they live a long, long time. So you need to come up with activities. I love taste. I mean, you think of all of us when you think of mom's home cooking, apple pie, cookies, favorite foods. Now, not only do you think of those foods, if you were to actually make those foods and let the individual taste those foods, and it takes you back to a reminiscent therapy and taste therapy. It's absolutely wonderful. Also, the other thing that we do a lot in memory care units is aromatherapy, smell. The other sense is smell. Just baking cookies and smelling the aroma of cookies creates in the subconscious the memories of mom making cookies and eating cookies. It's a wonderful, aromatherapy is a wonderful tool to work with individuals with memory loss. Touch is a wonderful thing. I think one of the neater communities that I've visited over my visiting several states and several memory care units, Silverado is actually quite wonderful. They actually understood touch therapy. They'd always have animals. You'd go into their buildings and they'd have, I've seen everything from wallabies to dogs to cats, different types of animals that the individuals could actually touch. Pet therapy is actually wonderful. They actually make therapy toys that look like animals. I mean, you can buy a cat or you can buy a toy dog that actually look like they're breathing, but they're actually used for a very good tool, and that tool is for therapy for those individuals. You go to those places and they'll have art, which is touch therapy, and they have different textures of different types of material or leather or all kinds of different texture that an individual that's memory impaired can actually touch that, and it creates a sense of memory of what's in their subconscious, and it's a very good activity to do, is just have that individual touch those different textures. Sight is a wonderful therapy. They have light therapy. There are certain types and certain colors of lighting that are very stimulating. Now you have to be careful too. There are colors of lights and even colors of paint on wall that create anger and frustration and anxiety. So there's lots of studies out there and it'll show you which colors are very calming and what lighting you can use. A lot of times individuals with advanced Alzheimer's can't see certain colors. You'll notice that if you happen to have especially black, if you happen to have a black rug in your house, you will notice that people with Alzheimer's will walk very daintily around that rug because their vision sees that black rug as a hole and they're afraid to fall in. A lot of times people, they're struggling eating, and a lot of times people that are serving food, they serve it on a white plate. White is not a good color because it's an invisible color for people with Alzheimer's, so they don't see the food. A lot of times they don't see the bathroom. You have people that might urinate in a corner, and you wonder, why they urinate in a corner? It's because they don't see the toilet. They have LED lights. We've actually installed, they have wonderful colored toilet seats that are pastel colors. We've installed pastel colors, and I've had some caregivers that were very creative, and they got some fluorescent lighting, and they basically, so individuals at night couldn't find the restroom. So they made a little sign that would flash at night to show them where the bathroom is with an arrow. But there's a lot of creative types of games and activities that can be done by using taste, smell, hearing, touch, and sight. And if you go on and Google on any of those, it will give you hours and hours of information on things that you can do so that a person doesn't just sit there and they're bored. Now, once again, I'm going to emphasize this. Do not allow people with, there's safety things that you just need to do. And it's very important that there's certain things that you just need to do. If a person has Alzheimer's or advanced dementia, take some safety precautions. You need to make sure that your doors are locked, that chemicals, these individuals a lot of times don't realize that there's dangerous poisonous chemicals, so you need to lock those cabinets up. We had a gal and her family came to us and said, and their mother was like 85 years old, but she was like going to the backyard and she'd jump the fence and she'd just disappear and get lost. And they'd spend hours calling the police and trying to find her. And they finally realized that they had to put some higher security around their yard so that their mom couldn't jump the fence. And especially making sure that just the basic things like you're keeping the gates locked, you're keeping doors so that you can't, individuals can't just walk out when they want to walk out because then they tend to get lost. And then the other thing is just recognizing. You would think that a person could recognize where they live. A lot of times they don't. And so sometimes you have to put little things there that will remind them where they live. But there's just so many safety things, from the bathroom to shampoos, to different things that a person could drink, thinking that it's a pop or a drink or something, or eat. And so, as you're caring for individuals with Alzheimer's and dementia, you have to make sure that you do not have things around that could endanger them. One of the big things that I always used to remember, in fact, I think when I was younger, I might have got cited on it, but during Christmas, those wonderful little, I can't even think of the red plants that are given out at Christmas. If I could only think of the name of them with my dementia, holy cow. They're poisonous when eaten. And we had state come in, and state said, hey, you cannot have these. If a person with dementia were to eat this plant, it is poisonous and it could kill them. There are certain flowers and certain types of plants that you have around your home that may be poisonous. And sometimes you just have to remember that there individuals with advanced dementia might actually eat them. And so keep your home safe. Keep activities going. If your loved one is taking care of an individual with dementia or Alzheimer's, just remember it's a long, long journey. And it can be a very enjoyable journey. It really can, if you realize where you're at and where they're at, and then you start to talk to them on their level, more on a therapeutic level. You can have some wonderful conversations when you're validating. I've seen so many wonderful things happen. Anyway, this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. It's also, just remember that some individuals, when they get at certain stages of advanced dementia and Alzheimer's, they get angry. I mean, very angry. And you kind of see they're a little frustrated because they kind of recognize that they're can't remember things, and they get very frustrated. Some individuals actually will start swinging. It's normal. I had a dear lady that this is years and years ago, who she would just swear like a sailor. And her daughter came and said, no, that's not possible. That's not my mom. My mom read the Bible every day and she didn't swear. And boy, you'd get around her and she knew every swear word that even existed to mankind. And for some reason that stuck in her subconscious, and her daughter just couldn't hardly deal with that. Was her mother, and her mother was swearing, and her mother was angry. There are times when these individuals get so angry that they will hit. They can be aggressive. And so make sure that you, as the caregiver, or if you're the child of a caregiver, make sure that they're safe, because it can be dangerous at times at certain stages in dementia and Alzheimer's. And you have to make sure, you have to get probably a doctor involved and make sure that probably the right medications are available to calm that person down. There are times when sometimes you just need to accept that you're not able to take care of them, and it may be time to take them to a memory care community. Anyway, hang in there. We've got a lot more videos coming. This one is near and dear to my heart, and hopefully the information I'm shared will be helpful to you. Hang in there, and I appreciate everything.